girls. This was so nice to wake up to all these comments underneath. Very interesting comments, I must say. A lot of food for thought. I will explain to you, though, how I got to that point. Most of you know that the going through the week with the family and all that, and decision, and going and seeing the psychiatrist who said that he will appoint a social worker to go and see my mother with me. While that happened, they phoned me, I had the appointment done, and it was 4 days later. Okay, I thought, I'm not going to warn my mother until the last minute. Well, not the last minute, last day, because that I didn't feel was fair, but at least until the previous day. Why I thought of that was because saying it 4 days in advance was giving her a chance to work on it, because she works a lot on things and she can't sleep, and then she anyway, stress on it, work on it, and come up with an excuse to cancel it. This is what I was afraid of. I mean, being in Greece, I was very lucky that they phoned me a week later and gave me an appointment. So for that reason, I thought I'll warn her 1 day before. What happened is that my husband did not agree with that. He thought I should not warn her at all, since the guy was going to pass by, take me, and then we would go to her house. He said, don't warn her, because she's going to be prepared, and she's going to clean up her house, she's going to go to the hairdresser, which she usually does. This is like a thing. She will clean up her house from all medicines and empty bottles and all that, and it's going to be just a show. It's not going to be real. Yes, to a certain point I know that this would happen, but I didn't feel it was fair to take somebody and just knock on her door and be, hey, we're here. This is not fair in any situation. And I was telling my husband, I don't understand why you say that. You're seeing, because for 4 days I had trouble. I had trouble with my conscience. I didn't know if it was right what I was doing, not to warn her in advance already. So, I mean, not to warn her at all would have killed me. I wouldn't have been able to live with myself. But my husband was pressuring me into, you shouldn't be doing that. You're either going to do it the right way or you're not going to do it at all. And there you're going back, steps on what your decisions. You're taking back you're going back on your decision, and you said that you're going to be strict about it and you're going to be strong about it and do it the right way. I'm like, yeah, but for me, this is the right way. I cannot. I mean, would you like, I said to my husband, how do you feel when people just come uninvited to the house? Don't you feel like kind of stuck in the corner? Don't you feel awful? Don't we, when we are warned that somebody's going to visit us, what do? We run around and clean our house too, because we don't want to see them, see us the way we're living. So it's a natural thing, to do. I'm sure that this is not the reason why this guy is going there anyway, okay? Which at the end, this is what happened. The guy just went there to talk with her. We sat in the kitchen and he didn't even go through the house or anything. He just talked with her. Anyway, but we were going that with this disagreement, and for 1 day we were going through the disagreement with my husband, and whom I thought was a bit, he was cruel for me, because he knew that for the past 4 days, since I knew the appointment date, I was not well with myself, and I didn't feel comfortable about not warning her. And he was pressuring me even more to go a bit further and not to tell her at all. At the end, anyway, I phoned her up and I did warn her. And of course, she was already prepared. I mean, she didn't need me to say when the appointment was. She understood that this is something that was going to happen. And she told me on the phone, yeah, I'm going to the hairdresser today. And I've already emptied all my medicine cupboards and all that. I am prepared to encounter anybody. This was her answer. I'm prepared to encounter anybody. So, I mean, we know how she thinks, we know how she, it's like she was going to war with somebody, anybody. Anyway, the thing is that I found myself in a point where I thought that what I was doing was totally understandable and not selfish, because I was thinking of if it's right for the other person what I'm doing, and not if it's convenient for me, for the social worker to catch her off guard, you know. Because this is also what my husband was counting on. He was counting, because my mother doesn't like surprises, he was counting on that if we would go there with a social worker, she would pick a fit and a fight and whatever, and she would be horrible to the person. And he was afraid that she would play her game too well if she was warned and fool the guy, because she can fool anybody. And for me, still, it was a matter of being correct and not doing to somebody else what I wouldn't like anybody else to do to me. That's all. So I gave it a lot of thought, because my husband is not a cruel person. He's a very sweet and nice person. He would not hurt a fly. I mean, he takes the ant on. He's the person who would take the spider under your foot if he saw that you were going to step on it, kill it. And I was surprised. Why is he reacting like that? It was for him. It was. I mean, he's got enough of the whole situation. So for him, it was like the last hope that something is going to happen, and it has to happen hard. It has to happen quick and fast, because he cannot put up with it, and that made him cruel in a way. Anyway, so I gave it a lot of thought, and remember we're in the car, and I said to him, look, if you think about it, what I've said in my video yesterday, my mother was also an innocent child, and they went through a situation. I will make a special video on her childhood life, so that you see that there are excuses for how she has managed to cope with that kind of life. And then I said, look, she's been through that, and I kind of have been through, she has put me through that too, so I've been through the same thing. The only difference is that she has become who she is, and I have become who I am. Where did it make a difference? Where did it make a difference that I didn't end up who she was at my age? And I came up with one conclusion, because I had to go through the whole story, okay, in my head. When she became worst, around which people she was worst, and all that. So like I have said in my old videos, my father left her for a younger woman. Well, the younger woman was the excuse, because my mother was already a very hard person, but she was not at 40, 45 what she is now. Of course she was not. She was like steps far away from that. And I'm sure that if I took a video of her now, if I could have taken a video of her now and showed it to the woman 30 years ago, 25 years ago, 25 years ago, she would have said, who's the fucking old lady? Who's this awful, horrible fucking old lady? I'm sure of that. I'm sure that to a certain point she also only had traits that could have been fixed if only she did some self-reflection, if only she had taken some responsibility from for whatever would have happened after that in her life. If only she had accepted her true feelings, because she never got in contact with her true feelings, the pain, the hurt, the disappointment, the betrayal. She didn't embrace those feelings. She didn't accept them, live through them, and move on. So when my father left for another woman, which is a hard thing for any woman, I mean, you have your husband, your 25 years husband, leave you for a woman the age of your daughter. Okay. You've just finished a house that you've coped so many years to build for a family, and you find yourself in that big house alone. Your kids have gone, and your husband, who you were supposed to spend your older days with, is gone and is happy somewhere else with someone else. So you must feel like a total flop. Your life is a total flop. What happened is that being in Greece, and our not mine, but all mind people's first enemy are Turks. Okay, my father married a Turkish woman, and because we live in a small village, even his best friends, they all turned against him, because people of that generation, they don't know why I hate Turks. I just hate them because of history, because they did this to my great-grandfather and I don't know what. Anyway, so even his friend, when my father left, and he could never come back. He tried once, but everybody was kind of very distant with him, and they treat him like nobody ever asked where is he, what is he doing, is he well, or anything. They didn't care. You left your wife for a Turkish woman. This is what was in their heads. Anyway, and so my mother going for the bread to the post office or whatever, she found people who were, I don't know how you call it, they were compassionate to her, and they were like, what a horrible man, and he left you for a Turkish woman. And she was feeling better, suddenly. She was feeling like everybody understands her and feels for her. And she was getting the attention by being the good, poor woman, who was left by her husband. Her husband just disappeared and left. And she was getting satisfaction out of that, so she started playing that game constantly, and it became part of her. Never, I remember then, didn't know anything about narcissism, but never did she take any responsibility for her marriage, for breaking. Never. And I told her that you have to go to therapy, because what happened to you is not something easy. And I was telling her also not to live in that house, because you have all the dreams. So when she was alone, she would drink, and she would take the pictures of my father and remember her whole life and cry and be miserable and look at the house and think that my father chose the marble on the walls on the bathroom walls or whatever, and things like that. So she was living in her memory when she was alone and drinking. And then when she would go out of her house and see people, everybody would be compassionate with her, and you didn't deserve this, what happened to you and all that, and she would get all the attention, and it would go worse. And in a way, she hated my father, loved and hated him, hated anybody, started hating anybody who was in contact with him. She cut with 2 friends. These were the only people that still were in contact with him. Didn't want to see, didn't want to talk to them again. She considered that everybody had to be on her side. She was mad with me when I went to visit him 4 years later, I think. Yeah, I think it was 4 years later. She was mad at me when he came to the hospital when I gave birth to my first child to see me. She was mad with me for accepting him to come and visit me. I shouldn't have. You have forgotten what he... And I remember her answer was, you have forgotten what he did to us. I said, he didn't do anything to me. What he did is to you. It's not my war. This is between you two. And you're both to blame in this marriage. You both did mistakes that you didn't look through. But you found it very easy to blame it on others. So in reality, my mother never accepted that, oh, I'm sad, my husband left me, oh, I fucked up, what can I do now? Take the blame, Can I try and get him back? Because he gave her a chance of 2 months to be back. When she said, at one point, she said, you can have her and you can have me too. He didn't want to leave the life he had. He wanted to find some peace and happiness, which he didn't with that woman. And that woman was not ready at any point to give him any peace and happiness. But she never accepted that this was her big mistake, and if there was one way to get him back, she had to go and check herself out first. So after that, it gradually went, with the help of the people around, of the people of the village and all that, blame, it's all him, it's all his fault, he was not correct, he left me and my children, who were like 20, I don't know, 25, he made a new life with another woman, had another child when he promised that he would never have more children. And anyway, then we came to live here, and at one point when we left again, but we left not far, we left to a neighboring island, so we would not be far from her, but we couldn't be near her anymore because she was getting worse and worse, and she was poisoning our life. So again, there, when we left, also for a better life, because the island where I live is just touristic. It's like 3 months season, that's all. There's no work the rest of the year. Nobody has work, there's nobody. It's just the locals, and they're not enough. And so we went to a neighboring island, which is a city, which there's more to do, there's more opportunities. And it's better for the children because it's lively, it's not a ghost town. So for a better life for us as well, we went there. But she never accepted that my children are doing this for the sake of their children, to have a better life, and at least they didn't go far away. They went to the closest place to me, so that they can keep an eye on me if something happens, and run to help me if something happens. No, she didn't see it like that. She saw it straight away. They are abandoning me. She never said it. I knew she was feeling it because she threw it 3 or 4 years later. She said, the day you left, you don't know how I feel, the day you left and abandoned me here. So again, no responsibility also for how she treated us, because she knew very well that we could not handle living next to her anymore. It was like every day opening the door, coming in, yelling, doing, closing the door, going. Of course, being a narcissist is what I find later. she would never anyway accept all this. But if you take that way of thinking, that you don't accept any blame, you don't accept you don't take responsibility for what you've done wrong in the result, okay? You have that result because also I did something wrong. This is why the result is this, and it's not something else. And I'm sure that she has done this ever since she was a child. She was taught not to take any responsibility for her action. And I really do believe that, maybe I will find something more, but I do believe that this is the main core. This is what, if we all start there, little babies, little innocent souls, okay? And life just... So to protect ourselves, we adapt to different, what can we say, different ways, okay? And if that way that soothes us, that makes us feel better, there is not enough self-reflection to be able to embrace responsibility, to accept the responsibility, embrace our feelings first. Embrace our feelings, because the core of all that is that she didn't embrace and accept her feelings. She didn't say, I am heartbroken, I feel terrible and I'm heartbroken, and I feel abandoned by my husband, and be sad about it and grieve. Then, without doing that, she couldn't go to the next step, which would be, okay, I must have done something wrong. I have to correct this for whatever next is coming into life. I have to pick up myself and see that I did something wrong there. But the first thing is the feeling. She never embraced the feeling. What she embraced is the false feeling. She embraced the false feeling she got by people who know nothing and are like stupidly influenced by history, who stuck up for her and made her feel better by telling her, your husband is an awful husband, and he abandoned you. How could he do after all you've done for so many years? Just because, whatever, this is their problem, whatever they think. So she embraced that, now I feel better. People are, sticking up for me. They tell me that I'm right. I have done no wrong. And they are telling me, so I'm feeling good with that. Instead of embracing, it would have been better for her if she was just like going out. Wouldn't it be different if she was like, yeah, I did a lot of mistakes. Yeah, he left me, but I hear he's happy now, and I couldn't make him happy. I'm too strong, yeah, because everybody called her the strong woman. She was a strong woman. She was strict, and she was authoritarian, and that made her look like a strong person, my ass. So the base of this is where I want to get to, where this is what I got to. It's like, we do not embrace our feelings. We need to go accept what we're feeling, the real feelings, not the fake ones that make us better, the real feelings that make us sad, miserable, and that make us realize that we are really in pain. We have to accept that. I am in pain now. I am very sad. I fucked up somewhere. Lock yourself in a room, have a depression, have whatever it is you need to have, but embrace those feelings. It's the only way to come out human out of that, is to embrace your feelings. So I think that is what makes the difference. I remembered when I separated with my husband, we are on and off all the time. Like cat and dog, we can't do without and we can't do with. So in our course of married life, we've separated 3 times, and it is actually always me who has provoked it in ways saying, look, we can't go on like this. This is not, we're miserable. We both have to go our own way, It's going to be hard, but let's communicate, keep a communication for the children. But together, we're like, ooh. And once that he left, I was damaged completely. I was heartbroken. I was listening to sad, cut slash your veins kind of Greek songs, which I never do. That's not the kind of music I listen to at all, this kind of songs. Well, that period I was listening to that, and I was in bed crying, I lost my husband and he's never coming back to me. And then once I embraced all that, I said, okay, now what do I do? Now I work on myself. Well, he was on his side working with himself, and that brought again good communication between us. So yes, embracing one's true feelings and not embracing the false wanted feelings, it's like a fix. Actually, it's like a fix. It's like an addiction that is giving you a false feeling. Why am I smoking? I'm smoking in this moment. It's satisfying me somewhere in my brain, it's certainly not satisfying me in my mouth or in my lungs, but in my brain. So I feel that I need a cigarette. And just talking about it, I want to get up now and go and have a cigarette, because my mind thinks that the cigarette is going to soothe me. But every morning I wake up and and every night that I sleep, I'm like, God, I have to stop smoking. My lungs are hurting and I have to stop smoking. It's killing me. I'm going to die. What am I doing here? Am I so stupid? And as soon as I wake up in the morning, I have a coffee and my thoughts go back in my head. Now I get excited and I feel that because I'm excited, I need a cigarette, I don't know what reason for. It's ridiculous. But the fact is that I'm choosing the soothing I think the cigarette is giving me, instead of facing the cold turkey I will go through for 2 days. How much? 2 days, 3 days, if I don't have a cigarette, and how much better I would feel after that. I choose the easy way out. I choose the instant feeling, the instant good feeling that I get, and I make the bad choice because it's hurting me and it's killing me. And this is exactly with the feelings. We make the wrong choice and we go for the most soothing one. We don't go straight to embrace the painful feelings. And by avoiding those painful feelings, now I'm getting at it, by avoiding those painful feelings, we embrace the false feelings created. And then we get addicted to it. And then we keep on pretending or playing that, whatever brought these feelings, we're playing that game. So if that is self-pity, it's just going to be self-pity, that gets me the right attention, if it's reminding people of all the good things I've done in my life, and me who worked so much, and I was so stupid and I worked so much. I mean, I know the whole thing that went around, that my mother conversation with other people that continued it that way. So she will go to the butcher and say, "Oh, any news from your husband?" "No, he completely forgot about you." "Yes." And me, who thinks about him on his birthdays every year and Christmas and all that, and every family event, I think that he's not there. And yeah, isn't that awful? And he never called you once, and continue on creating these situations. Well, I'm sure you got my point there now. Making it worse by talking more. I thank you so much for all these messages. I'm going to be reading them 3-4 times, just I love it. Sometimes I feel like a computer made by not a specialist, what do you call it, like an So thank you guys. Have a nice day. Keep on informing yourself and having conversations, nice conversations with other people, because this is where we get our food from. Food, yes. Yes, I call it food. It is food. Oh, just wanted to add something. Somebody wrote that it must be something humans have when they are born. This I'm not too sure about. Because I have seen kids, okay, and I'm talking about kids at the age of one kid, especially this one story, this sort of one example. The child was around 5, I think. The mother was shocked because she went out one day. The little child came back running to her. They lived in the countryside, so there was big part of land around it. And the child came back and he said, Mom, come and see what I did to the kittens. All excited. And the mother followed, and he had, stumbled, jumped and crashed the kittens. She was shocked. She came to me, she said, I don't know what to do. I haven't taught my child this. I mean, we are like so animal friendly and taking care of animals. And she had the impression, because they have a neighbor right next to them, he was an old guy alone, and he was a lot with the child. The child was spending a lot of time with him while they were at work. And this guy had guns and things like that. I know the guy. I mean, also, he doesn't look like a barbarian, because this is a barbarian thing to do. You don't, jump and crush animals. And then the worst is that, Mom, come and have a look what I did. All happy and excited. He was proud of what he did. Don't know. This boy now is, I think he must be 15 or something, 14. He's a perfect little boy, really nice. Okay, you're gonna tell me, are you sure about it? Do you know that he's nice? He's a very polite guy, helping a lot of his parents at work and all that, really nice. The parents I know, they're adorable people. But that's strange, no? I was surprised at this behavior. I don't know if we're born one way or the other. I don't know. I think children are born without knowing, and it's what we teach them. It's what we show them. That I think yeah, and if you look back at kindergarten years, there always were some kids who were very cruel towards animals, and there's always been. I remember from my years, and I remember from my children's years, there's always been children that defend the animals and just like are completely shocked and going crazy when they see other kids bullying animals. And I remember my child one was once was some screaming out of sight of my shop. All the children were yelling and screaming, and I could hear the voice of my child saying, "No, no, no, don't do that." And I was like, "What are they doing?" And run out. And he was protecting a cockroach from the other kids who wanted to step on it. I mean, it was like, okay. I respect that, now get the cockroach out of here, please, and take it further down the road. But it was so funny how he was like, he was on the floor, and his hands were like, don't do that, don't step on it, and all that. And the kids were like, who's going to step on the cockroach? And he was really yelling, because he couldn't handle, there were too many of them, and he couldn't handle it. He didn't know how long he would be able to protect the cockroach. So that's very funny, of course. Both my husband and I, we have a little problem with putting pesticides and killing insects and things like that, because you don't kill only the one you don't like, you kill many more. And we do take close-up pictures of insects in general. Even we love animals. We always have many cats, many dogs, one dog, many cats, and all that. So it's normal that our children have grown up respecting any sort of life, really, any sort of life. And you have children where the parents don't like the animals. For example, they kick a cat. They would easily kick a cat too. But you get this kind of anyway, I don't think, maybe there's a little part of it in, no, I believe that we're all born the same. We're all born the same. I do believe, though, that being in the belly, when you're in the womb of a woman, whatever feeling she gets, whatever she goes through, this influences the embryo and influence the child. This I do believe. I've had 3 pregnancies, and I know the period. I mean, the period that I have, the 9 months where they were in the womb, depended. I had different phases in my life, so the child is very much with the character of the child, or the stability of the child, has very much to do with how I felt when I was pregnant, when I was carrying them. This has to do a lot. But apart from that, no, it's we make the human beings. We make them. We make them. We produce them. We make them, and we show them. So it's very important what we show them. What we show them is the most important. Thanks, bye.